program is the Active Center.
Hey everyone, let's just dive right into it. Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're taking a close look at Katella High School over in Anaheim, California. But we're not just going to look at it as, a standard collection of classrooms and lockers. No way. We're actually going to explore this institution through a totally different lens. We're talking about Katella High School as a multi-million-dollar economic and cultural engine for its whole community. We're going to dig into the massive investments poured into this campus, and then measure the actual, tangible, real-world returns those investments yield. It's really fascinating stuff. So, here is our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the origins of the Knights. Second, investing in the campus. Third, we'll dive into the community and economic impact. And finally, number 4, a legacy of notable alumni. Let's get started. All right, Section 1, Origins of the Knights, building character in 1966. The name Katella might sound like a Spanish word to you at first glance, or maybe some old geographical term, but it actually has this incredibly charming, surprisingly human origin story. When they were naming the school back in 1966, they tossed around options like Cypress and Loara, which actually ended up being used for other schools later down the line. But they ultimately went with Katella. Why? Well, it's a portmanteau. They literally just mashed 2 words together. It combines the first names of the 2 daughters of a really prominent local landowner, Kate and Ella. Kate plus Ella equals Katella. How cool is that? It's just a wonderfully unique, lasting tribute to the actual heritage of the land the school sits on. And that thoughtful origin really perfectly illustrates the intentional culture the founders wanted to set up right from day one. I mean, the inaugural student body and faculty didn't just throw a dart at a board to pick a mascot. They deliberately chose the Knights. And the reason is simple. They wanted a symbol that absolutely embodied the highest ideals. We're talking honor, valor, and ethical conduct. Then they paired that with the colors black and red, specifically chosen to represent strength and excellence. From the very day the doors opened, the entire goal was to build a place with strong character, a real commitment to chivalry, and a proud, distinct identity of academic distinction. Which brings us to Section 2, investing in the campus, the multi-million-dollar modernization. Okay, so the numbers behind actually maintaining a campus like this are honestly staggering. While we don't have the publicly indexed original 1960s construction costs, the recent modernization efforts, which were funded by the Anaheim Union High School District's Measure H construction bond program, show some massive civic investment. Just look at this scale. We've got one project budgeted at $12.8 million and another major chunk allocated for site improvements at $7.7 million. When you're talking about upgrading a modern public high school, you are talking tens of millions of dollars on top of standard annual maintenance, which, by the way, itself runs into the millions, just to keep the lights on and the grounds clean. So you might be wondering, where exactly did that first massive $12.8 million chunk actually go? Well, this was for the DRPS Site Improvement Project, which wrapped up around 2017. The big buzzword here, sustainability. A huge portion of these funds went directly into water sustainability, things like significantly reducing stormwater runoff and putting in drought-tolerant landscaping. But it also paid for brand new shade structures out in the lunch area, absolutely crucial upgrades to the main entry, and it provided vital ADA-compliant conditions all across the campus. It's basically a top-to-bottom modernization to make sure the school is both highly functional and environmentally sustainable for the 21st century. But as you can imagine, a campus that's been around since the 60s needs a bit more than just some nice landscaping and extra shade. And that brings us to the ongoing modernization efforts, which accounts for that additional $7.7 million. This money is absolutely vital because it ensures the core infrastructure remains totally state-of-the-art. We're talking the bare fundamentals of a safe learning environment here. Things like new roofs, fresh paint, modern flooring, right alongside some very critical safety upgrades, like new fire alarms, public address systems, and comprehensive security cameras. Basically, this is the baseline investment you need to keep a facility of roughly 2,500 students running safely, smoothly, and efficiently every single day. All right, shifting gears a bit. Section 3, Community and Economic Impact, the ripple effect of education. When we start talking about the true return on all those millions of dollars of investment, the absolute foundational metric we have to look at is 94%. Katella High School maintains an incredibly strong overall graduation rate that averages right around 94%. Think about that for a second. Successfully getting 94 out of every 100 students across the finish line with a diploma in hand, that means the school is overwhelmingly fulfilling its primary civic duty. But, it's not just about getting them to graduation day. It's really about what happens next. Katella uses a highly effective system called AVID. That stands for Advancement via Individual Determination. This program is laser-focused on preparing students for college readiness and long-term success. Because of this intense focus, student surveys show remarkably high aspirations for local four-year degrees. We see a huge drive from these students toward prestigious universities, literally right in their backyard, places like UC Irvine, CSU Fullerton, and UCLA. So that initial investment in the high school directly fuels a steady, reliable pipeline right into higher education.
And that college readiness, it builds into a massive economic ripple effect for Anaheim and all of Orange County. Let's break it down. Step 1 is direct earning power. Graduates who go on to higher ed or vocational training simply have higher lifetime earnings. That translates to more local sales tax generated, higher property values, and way more money being pumped back into local businesses. Step 2 is workforce development. A huge chunk of these graduates actually stay right in Orange County. They become the nurses at local hospitals like Kaiser Permanente, the teachers shaping the next generation in the local school district, and the skilled workers in regional manufacturing. And finally, step 3 is civic and social capital. These graduates grow up to be local business owners, nonprofit contributors, and key civic leaders. It's essentially the social glue that makes stable, long-term economic growth even possible in the first place.
Let's look at some real-world examples in Section 4, a legacy of notable alumni, the Knights on the national stage.
Now, in this explainer, we are just looking at the facts, but the historical milestones produced by this high school when it comes to civic engagement are, quite frankly, just astounding. Take Ed Royce, class of 1970. He went on to serve 26 years as a U.S. congressman. Then you have Loretta Sanchez, class of 1978. She made history as the very first Latina elected to Congress from Orange County. And then just 4 years later, Linda Sanchez, class of 1982, went on to become a U.S. congresswoman as well. That made Loretta and Linda the first sisters to ever serve together in the United States Congress. Regardless of politics, these are just major, history-making figures in American legislation, and they all walked the exact same high school hallways. But Katella's return on investment goes way beyond politics. It spills heavily over into entertainment and professional sports too. Carl Matzek, class of 1969, was a writer and producer widely recognized as a key figure in bringing Japanese animation to the West. I mean, the guy created Robotech. Then there's Jason Bozel, class of 1995, a very prominent musician and drummer. And in the world of professional sports, the school produced Dave Wilson, an NFL quarterback for the New Orleans Saints, as well as Major League Baseball players like Brandon Barnes and Nick Ramirez. From literally shaping global pop culture to pitching in the major leagues, the talent output from this single school is incredibly varied and seriously impressive.
So we've seen the tens of millions of dollars invested into the physical campus. We've seen those stellar 94% graduation rates, the sweeping economic ripple effects, and this truly incredible roster of alumni who have shaped politics, sports, and entertainment. So looking at the students sitting in those freshly modernized, drought-tolerant classrooms today, you really have to wonder, how will the next generation of Knights shape our world? Because as you've seen, when a community invests this heavily in its youth, the returns are truly limitless. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep learning.